Alright, back again, Luke here. And today what I thought we could do is a bit of a system review. It's something that don't get a chance to do very often here, but today just happened to be a really good day where I was able to get another one of these systems up and running. Figured I'd share it with you guys and a little bit of the history behind it. And that system that we'll be talking about today is this. This is the NEC PC Engine Shuttle. And if you can take a look at it here, it has a very unique shape to it. There may be a lot of people out there, especially a lot of fans of the NEC PC Engine, who know about this system, but for those of you out there who have never seen it or who don't know much about the PC Engine, I'll give you a little bit of background info on this here. When I first got this in, this was a system that wasn't working, it wasn't turning on or anything like that, so I took a look at the inside and there were a couple of bad traces. It was something I was able to figure out and patch up, and I got this thing up and running. But more interesting than that is the history behind this specific machine. Now, for those of you out there who are familiar with the Sega Genesis and with the Super Nintendo, and those of you who have been or lucky enough to experience the 16-bit wars between, Sega and Nintendo, NEC was also a part of that, and the PC Engine, or the TurboGrafx 16, was their flagship model. That was the one thing that they were trying to push as hard as they could as a 16-bit system, even though it wasn't technically 16-bit. Now, there were many different variations that they made of the system. They made a smaller one here, which is one that was just released in Japan, and this is the really compact size. Many people out there who are from Europe or from the United States or Canada are probably very familiar with the longer one. It kind of looks like a bit of a ship or an aircraft carrier, but this is the original size and what it came in, and it did come in a couple of different colors. It came in the Core graphics machine. This is the Core Graphics 2. The Core was blue, and this one here was like a brown or gray and orange. It also came in the PC Engine white colored one, which is another variation that was used in combination with a CD drive, a disk drive that it sat next to. With this system here, this was one that during the time that Nintendo and Sega were out trying to make as many different products as possible, they were trying to make different systems. You had the Sega Genesis, you had the 32X, you had the CDX, just everything, all of these ideas coming out. And NEC really wanted to get in there and try and appeal to a lot of Nintendo's market. They wanted to try and grab some of that and bring it towards them. And what they decided to do is, from their first initial model here, it was okay. It wasn't too bad as far as sales go, but they were mostly going for elementary school kids, and they figured the best way to get an elementary school kid, or to get more children, would be to make a system that looked kind of fun, or that looked like something children would want. So essentially, this system here is almost like a gimmick. You can see it really doesn't offer too much as far as usability goes compared to this one here. There is nothing really different between this one and this one. The only thing is just there's a couple of different features on the outside as far as cosmetic differences, but that's it. They are essentially both the same machine, and they will both play the Who cards and nothing else. With this system here, however, it has a slot. If we take a look at the back of it here, it has a slot here for backup RAM, and that was something that needed to be plugged in externally. There were a couple of different packs that were able to just clip on the back here, and that's what you could use for external memory or backup memory. But this machine here was a little bit different. It used to plug into a interface unit, or this one could plug into a CD-ROM drive, and you could play using the Super CD-ROM 2 drive. This one, on the other hand, couldn't, and you can see basically why. The reason is because it has these tails here up here on the top, and it really has a strange shape to it. But going back to the rest of the design in this thing here, if we take a look at it up close, you'll notice that aside from the fact that it looks like a space shuttle, which is the original intention that they were going for, space shuttle or like a UFO, they've made the front part here a plastic door which hinges out. This is very similar to the other PC Engine models like the Duo or the Duo R, just a place where you could put the card, kind of like a dust cover. But this one here is almost essentially like a cockpit door, and that's the idea that they were going for when they designed this. They wanted to make this as kind of like a cockpit. When you put this in here, it kind of looked like, a space shuttle. Some of the interesting features about this one is, aside from the on-off switch being up on top instead of being in the front like this, the controller port is located over here in the corner, You have your AV outs, which you can use just standard AV cables for this one. And here is where your AC adapter goes. Now, one interesting thing that they included in this, which is really strange to an extent, really can't figure out why they did this, but they put a lock, and I don't know if you guys can see this here. There's a lock switch. Now, this says open, and this one says closed or on and off. When you put it to off, what it does is it closes the back of this hatch here, and you can't put the AC adapter in. It's really kind of a pointless feature because obviously when you have the cable plugged in, you're normally just going to have the cable plugged in. You'll have it sitting on your shelf and be ready to use at any point. But to have this here blocks that off, and it makes it so that you can't put a cord in. So it's really kind of odd because they didn't do that with any other section here. For the AV outs, there's no switch or sliding plate on the back of that. It's just something I think they designed to do to make kids kind of interested in the system. Just when you're younger, you know, kids like to play around with switches and things like that. And I think that was just one of those things that they just put on there as a pointless kind of thing of entertainment. If you were to stick it on your shelf with this closed, or if you were to stick it on your shelf with this open, it really doesn't change too much. But that is the system here in a nutshell. If you take a look at the bottom of it, it looks like this. The system itself, for the front part here where the Who card goes, if we take one of our cards, we can just turn the power off here. And we can slide this one up here, insert it like so, and just close it. That way you can see the title or the artwork on the card itself. But from the bottom here, it's all open. So it really doesn't serve much of a purpose trying to keep the dust out, especially when the bottom part is open. So once again, just trying to go for that gimmick market and seeing if they could get people to buy it just based on the looks, not so much of the usability with it. Now, along with the system, they decided that they were going to change the controller as well to go with it. And they came up with this this design here, which kind of looks like something you would see out of a Batman movie or a Batman game. It kind of has that kind of Batarang type look to it. And this is one that's specifically designed for this system. Now, there weren't too many different variations as far as controllers go for the PC Engine systems. This is one of them. They had a variant in white, and they had one for each color for the systems here. But they had like a Turbo 3 pad, which was a little bit bigger in size. In general, this is the one that is probably the strangest one as far as shape goes. PC Engine design here only had about 2 different major designs. This was one of them. The other one was the Super Graphics, which kind of looks like an engine block. But when they designed the Super Graphics, they didn't change the controller. So the controller looks essentially the same as the core graphics controller. But this is one interesting part here. So you can see we have our 2 turbo switches on the sides, and we have our start select button. You can see there's a little bit of a grill up top on here, kind of goes along with the one in the back of the system. Now, this system originally was released in 1989, and it retailed for about 18,000 yen, which is about $180. And it was just designed to appeal towards mostly kids. So unfortunately, I don't have the box for this one, but when the box was printed out, they decided that they were going to get something as catchy as possible to try and attract more and more children. So what they did, if you ever see a picture of the box art for this one, they'll show a ton of kids and a ton of just people. It's all kind of cartoony, and there must be about 100 people on the front of the cover. And in the lower right-hand corner, they have the picture of this, just kind of sitting there. Kind of like it's a conversation piece, it brings people together, and it's something that's really entertaining and enjoyable for many people. This was the kind of thing they were trying to show, and that was one of the most interesting box art pieces that has been designed. Because if you take a look at some of the other box art for the PC Engine systems, it's quite simple. It doesn't look like anything spectacular, but for this system, especially in particular, they had a lot of cartoon faces and people. It looked like it was a way to gather groups of people and keep them in one place. So they were kind of going for that with this. The other interesting thing about it is when this was first released, when the PC Engine was first released, they had a couple of good titles that were not exactly marketed towards children. They had like Kato-chan and Ken-chan, which is like JJ and Jeff outside of Japan. And it's just like a kind of funny slapstick comedy game that has like some dirty potty humor in it for the Japanese version, which was later removed for the European and the US releases. Canada, they don't have any of that in there. And that was one of the games that they had basically released for the original PC Engine system. But since they wanted to release it more towards kids, what they did is they decided to go the Drymon route. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Drymon, it's basically a blue cat. It's an alien blue cat that can talk. It has a big pocket that you can pull out many different items from, including a door that'll lead you anywhere, a helicopter that'll take you flying around there. That image, or that particular character, was designed into a game for the PC Engine in 1989, and was also basically used to try and lure kids in to buy this. Overall, the system wasn't exactly the most successful. It was discontinued, and nowadays it's more or less just one of those systems to have and kind of talk about a little bit of the history on, or just to hang out with your friends and go, wow, this is a really interesting, unique piece compared to some of the other systems. There isn't a lot of information that you can find on the system itself that's in English, so today I thought I'd make this video here to try and give you a little bit more of an insight as to why this strange machine was made and a little bit more of the history behind it. But yeah, just wanted to share this with you guys here, and definitely it's a machine that you can have a lot of fun with, especially if you're just into collecting and you want to have another piece to talk about, something to have on your shelf, or just something to take out during parties and have a little bit of fun with. But that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. Here we go. Bonk's Flying Adventure.